So first off, I'll just note that the exam schedule is out. So I just added it to Moodle, but you might have got an email about it as well. And so if you go to this website and click here, and then we are Wednesday, December 6th at 2. So it's sort of just like you would go to class the next week kind of thing, but instead of going to the class, you'll go to the exam itself. You are split across 2 rooms, so there'll be a new schedule that's posted with the rooms. So I'll split you up myself sometime before the exam. I'll just announce who's in which room, and usually it's just like A to M go to one room based on last name, and then N to Z go to the other room. But the rooms aren't always equally sized, so I'll have to look into it. But anyways, it should be. I think it'll be in the Faubourg building. Okay. So what else? Assignment 2 will be. So assignment 1, you should have got your grades. If you have any questions about that, you can email the TA about it. And assignment 2 will come out like this week, like in another 2 weeks or so. So I'm going to have you do what's called a cognitive walkthrough. So next lecture will lay the theory of security usability, and then I'll show you the cognitive walkthrough method itself. So I might give you the assignment here, or I might give it to you here. We'll see. But I just have to go over with the TA whether we're going to pick a new thing for this year or do the same thing as last year. Okay, so that's that. And then, okay, so for the lectures last week and this week, it's usually a 2-part lecture. So what's on YouTube is meant to be both weeks. So it's longer than a single week, and it covers social engineering. Hopefully this is review, but the lecture will go through some of the material and the theory behind it. So like you can kind of think of these as the 3 main sort of components of a social engineering attack. And then at the end of the lecture, there's a lot of stories about these attacks and trying to think about them using this framework, and also just sort of understanding what's going on. So given that the entire lecture, both last week and this week, is already online, I'm not going to go through the material itself. So the only purpose really for this class is just because when you watch a video, you can't ask questions. So that's what this class is for. So I'll open it up to any questions, and this could take 5 minutes, it could take 2 hours. It depends on what everyone.
Professor,
yeah.
During the lecture, you mentioned that there's no like a framework of defense for this kind of attacks, but when you are in a position with users and anything, and there's something that we can steal from another areas like business, because it's very difficult to train the users to resist this kind of scam. So in your experience, anything that we can learn to train the users, because
right.
that is the weakest link finding.
Yeah, for sure. So training is one aspect that's tackled. I think now there's more knowledge about the kinds of things that you could train on. You could probably get good material and things like that about how to train your employees for it. So that's sort of the one aspect. Another aspect is going over your policies and procedures and trying to make sure there's no loopholes and things like that. That's the kind of thing where there's no, it's not like you're going through code looking for software errors, right? You could try and turn your policy into code. So there is that aspect of like making it like a formal logic, like so that you can reason about it. But in general, a company's not going to do that. Even if they did do it, it would also be like they would do it once for their policy, but then someone else would have a slightly different policy. You'd have to redo it. So yeah, but anyways, just going over the policy like with the human mind and trying to make sure that it's logical and you don't see any loopholes. Then the extreme thing you could do is actually try and hire, like you could hire a security firm to try out social engineering attacks against it. Yeah, or you could do it internally. Yeah, so you could have the managers do it. The external firm would be like they would literally come in and do pretexts and all of that type of stuff, and then write you a report, and they would give you suggestions about
Some places there like a price or something to the people who do good and something else like they force users to take a course about security if they fail.
Right.
Is that legal here?
So I'm not a lawyer, so I can't say for sure. I think, I think if you required someone to take a course because they did poorly in that seems like it would be reasonable. Firing them for it is a different question, or like making their pay somehow dependent on it. That's where you would get into like legally dubious areas. But yeah. And so here at like Concordia, for example, we have courses that we have to take. They're just online kind of courses. I don't know if students, you have to take it? Okay. Optional? Okay. So
awareness.
Right. So here, a lot of it's on phishing and spear phishing, but the idea is they'll add modules as time goes by, and so there'll be broader things as well. But spear phishing falls under social engineering. There's not a lot of other like kind of straight up social engineering that university faculty would have to worry about. But anyways, it is a challenging problem because there's no recipe for how to deal with it correctly, right? That's part of the challenge. Any other questions or comments, or did you like the stories? Were they interesting? Yeah. No one had problems with the video going back and forth between the lecture and the YouTube and stuff. Yeah.
You mentioned about the framework, like in the first video about the framework. So they were asking us I think there are 4 frameworks, right?
Yeah. Three with 2 subsets. Yeah.
Can you go over that?
Sure. Yeah, so the framework is basically, not every social engineering attack will necessarily have all of these properties, especially the first one. The first one you may or may not have, but the other 2 are like kind of the hallmark of social engineering. So the first stage is information gathering. So the attacker will just try and learn as much as they can about what they're doing. It's easier to do an attack if you know what you're doing. So all of that is in that sort of information gathering stage. Pretext is a fancy word for you pretend to be someone you're not. And so that could be like just calling up and saying, hi, I'm Jeremy Clark, even though I'm not. It could be, hi, I work at this company, even though you don't. So there's all sorts of different pretexts, but it's basically, it's what makes it a social engineering attack in my mind, right? If it's just a pure technical attack, then there's no real pretext. I mean, you could argue there's spoofing involved, and spoofing and pretexting are kind of the same thing. But anyways, this idea is sort of a hallmark of social engineering. And then the third thing is, the thing to recognize is that the pretext isn't the goal of the attack. It's a way to get to the goal, right? So just if you convince everyone that you work at IT and you don't, that doesn't get you anything, right? So that's meant to get you in proximity of what you actually want. And so the question is, what do you actually want? And so the adversary usually wants either information, so we call that elicitation, or they want the person to do something for them, and so we call that persuasion. So, and then the umbrella term is influence for both of those. And a lot of things, like with persuasion and elicitation, a lot of the techniques are exactly the same. And then there's maybe a few specific ones where you're trying to get information as opposed to trying to get someone to do something. So yeah, and then the lecture will go through each of them. Well, it gives examples, but there's lots of slides about all the different components of each of the framework elements. Okay, anything else? Anything that wasn't clear or you could use more explanation of? Okay, I did my job very well. Okay, so that's it. I mean, sorry to drag you all here for something that's so short, but that's how this goes. And so next week we'll jump into security usability. Your second assignment will correspond to that topic as well. Any final questions? Nope. All right, good. Enjoy the rest of your day.